do very much editing?
I don't do editing at all.
Okay.
I have an editor. Because I have someone that works with us that he edits, and he's a wonderful editor. He's got his master's in journalism, and he's a really good editor. And he went to Deerfield High School, and he edits for me, and I hope that people, when I, ask them if they would like to have, we recommend somebody, they'll use him because he really does a good job. And a lot of times they don't have a good job.
Okay.
This question of an editor helping out, in my past books, many cases, I really had valued the advice of my editor, and we'd work together on it. They don't want you to they can't rewrite it.
No.
But they can make suggestions.
They can.
I think a lot of authors don't realize that there's a fine line here between editor and author that has to be kept. Make sure that they don't, they don't.
Right, you don't want an editor that he will change your words.
That's right.
Right, and the one that I use, he does not change your words. He just makes them better. And sometimes when I'll look at the work he's done, I'll go, did I say that? He goes, yeah, you did, but he made it sound better. It just looks better on the print, in the printed book, and it really does help. People don't realize that almost everybody needs an agent.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You almost have to today.
Well, because it makes the book flow. And even in a screenplay it should be edited, because even when you're writing a book or a screenplay, you don't really see the mistakes. You could read a page 10 times and never see anything wrong with it, because it's coming from you.
Oh, definitely.
That's true.
But it is true, because you write a lot, and you know that, and that's exactly what happens. So the editor, he is there just to give his opinion, like you say, and he's just a help.
In many cases, an author is just a little too close to the work, and I know that my problem has always been that I used to resent an editor trying to change my work, and I've had some scraps, but we won't go into that. And so there's a fine line there, and a line very close. They're getting closer and closer together now as they're beginning to work together as teams rather than apart.
Well, actually, I'm with my editor. I'm making a screenplay with him, which is the first time I've ever done that. And it's actually fun in a way. It's teaching me different things, but he's editing while I'm just, we're writing, and I've never had that, somebody edit it while we're doing it. But it's really good. It's helped me a lot, working with him.
I agree with you in terms of that you don't see your mistakes, because I write technical documents for work, and then we actually literally have an inspection where we have like 3 or 4 people read it line by line, and I will have gone over this thing 20 times, and they'll be reading it, and it's like, I can't believe
because it's coming from
I got that wrong.
It's coming from your voice, and you're writing, and you don't see it.
So you definitely have to have it edited.
Yes.
A question that's often asked me, Marsha, we might comment on it. What is the difference between a teleplay and a screenplay?
Well, the teleplay, is for TV, and it's a certain amount of minutes, and the teleplay is very difficult to get out there. It is very hard. It would be, there's a lot of people that are trying to do teleplays, but it's basically a 2-hour script is easier to get out there. They're not even 2 hours anymore, because every page is 1 minute. So if you're writing, like a lot of the movies, I think you might notice it's like 95 minutes, 98 minutes, and 20 different, they have, in the middle of a movie, but right when you get to the movie, they show a lot of different things where, where you're just kind of watching, and you're thinking, well, is this movie going to end now? And then you look at the one, and it's ended, and some you're sitting there, you're going like, oh, is this movie ever going to end, But usually if they catch you after the 20 minutes, if you're into it, then you're, if they don't, sometimes you're, but although lately what I've noticed when I go to a movie is I see at the end, the last half hour is good, and then they're singing and dancing the last 5 minutes, and everybody walks out clapping, and they say, oh, this was really a good movie. So, they forgot that they sat there for an hour, and it was not good,
You wonder right, too, I'll tell you.
And you go like, oh, this movie's great, because everybody, I like to go to movies, and I like to see people in the movies, because I like to watch what they do. I like to see how they leave the show.
I would think, like, for television, you'd write so much differently, like, because you don't have time to, like, really...
Television, a lot of commercials.
A lot of commercials, and, like, for an hour...
Unless it's HBO. Unless it's HBO or any of those cable stations, they have no commercials.
Yes, I heard something like, really an hour, it's only 40 minutes, right?
Yes, and there are so many commercials now because it's the advertisers that really are paying for what's being done.
So do you actually write for the commercial breaks somewhat?
Well, yeah. There's a break. Well, they kind of choose that. You know, that's the more or less shooting script that they would do.
Okay.
You know.
But the problem is for a writer is allowing for these breaks, because the writer today, some new writer coming in say, well, I've got a half-hour script or an hour script, but how many minutes do I have to allow for commercial?
Well, most of the people that I handle, they're basically newer writers, so they really have not done this very much, and they write screenplays. They don't write teleplays.
Okay.
You know, because it's actually quite different writing.
Yeah, I would think it'd be
and I think
different.
Screenplays, they're writing. You know, and if they write over 2 hours, you cannot send that in. It has to, you know, in Hollywood they have very strict rules about what you do. You know, it has to be, it cannot be over because it looks like you're, you know, an amateur, and then they won't even look at it.
Okay.
Marsha, what about the sitcom, though?
Sitcoms, a lot of people write sitcoms, but that is also very hard to.
Is it?
Yes.
I would think so too, because they're supposed to have their own writers, aren't they?
They do. A lot of them do.
They have their
That's why they seem alike a lot of times, because they go from ABC to NBC, and the same writers.
It's the same writers.
You know, sometimes when you're watching TV, you're not sure if there was a commercial and the show's over, because the same, you know, you're watching something, you go, didn't we just see that? If it's not, it's another show. You know, and they also lead into each other, trying to give each other help to try to get, you know, more viewers.
So you think in Hollywood they actually are reading these screenplays?
I think they do. I think they have readers, and that's the problem. If the reader has a bad day, maybe they may not like what they read, and they'll reject it.
Okay, all right.
You know, and
but at least they're not just thrown in the...
No, I don't think they do. I really don't.
Because you've always heard, like, for book publishers, that sometimes they're not even reading it.
I don't think a lot of them do read it. And I think sometimes, you know, that what they do is that you get a lot of submissions and they don't pay attention like they should. And that's why, you know, self-publishing and books on demand has come into view. Because you're not, you know, that's why sometimes, like I said before, I don't, you know, I do not take books, and then I say, okay, I'll take books because of that. But and a lot of people come to me with their self-published books, and we try to send them to publishers. But that's not working as well as it should, because they're not recognizing it. And even though the books are on Barnes & Noble, they're at Borders, they're on Amazon.com, they're still not paying the attention that it needs. That's where the PR comes, and that's why it gets expensive.
Right, and that's why you need a
people
publisher.
should still try these things, because really it's a really nice feeling when you finish a book. It's not easy, even a bad book. It's hard. It's a very hard process, and it takes commitment.
So what do you do when you what do you do when you have an author that gives you something that's really bad?
Well, you know, I can't really take them, because you know, if I send something really bad, that would be, you know, they would not ever look at anything.
Do you actually tell the author, or what do you?
Well, we tell them they need work. A lot of people don't think they need work, and then, you know, I don't think they get insulted as much, but they, you know, they think it's good, and you know, sometimes they may be right. You know, because I may be wrong. So I have different age readers. So because it, you know, I may not like something, and I think it's fair if different people read it. You know, and this way, you know, and I don't choose on age or judge anything, because you can't. It's not fair.
Okay.
You know, and if I think it's not that good, I want somebody else to look at it, and I want somebody else to tell me that.
Marsha, there's always been an argument, not an argument, but a discussion among us writers. Is more writers should have good English. The emphasis on good grammar, good English. Do you find a lack of that?
Yes, I do. And I myself, that's, you know, a downfall for me. That's why I have my work edited, because it's very hard to have grammar that is perfect.
I know.
In a script, you don't need perfect grammar, because we don't talk perfectly.
No.
But you still need it to look good on the page.
Well, for books, particularly.
Yeah, and the books you need. The books, definitely, it has to be. And people think their work does not, and like I said before, they does not have to be edited. It does.
Oh, yeah.
Even school, people that teach school.
Now, we should talk a little bit about you. Now, you had just talked a little bit about how why you decided to become a literary agent, and that's because
I've been writing for years, right? I've been writing for years, and I have the rejection. I still have, and that's the thing about writers. We save our rejections. So I don't know why, but we do. When I've moved houses or whatever, I've still saved my rejection letters, and I think we all do this. And you know, they weren't paying attention to me either. It doesn't matter, you know. So
you have two books published, and we actually have them here.
We've got some copies here.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about?